generation better off than you were? Yes, absolutely still real.
With President Trump's leadership, one person is not better than another. Just because you think you're here as a citizen or because you're a member of a certain group or you're not a citizen, it doesn't mean that you're going to be protected and not face consequences
I'm gonna give
from the
up on
laws
the
that this country
dream. One
stands
day
for.
I'll
We
be
have a
there.
constitution.
Okay, yeah.
We follow that
Don't
constitution.
give up on the American
and
dream.
the laws
Man.
that have been
Still
passed
the
by
land
our
of
Congress, and
opportunity.
we're going to make sure they are equally
It's
applied
just,
to every single
picking your
person
spots.
as it applies under the Constitution here in Los Angeles, but also across the country. As our law enforcement officers have been assaulted, they've been pelted with rocks and bricks. Their cars have been set on fire. Molotov cocktails have been used. We have seen people throw bottles and hammers at them. We've also seen that they have been attacked and verbally spit on or punched or assaulted, and it's just not acceptable. The Department of Homeland Security and the officers and the agencies and the departments and the military people that are working on this operation will continue to sustain and increase our operations in this city. We are not going away. We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist
the
and
LAPD?
the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to insert into this city. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been able to do this. Also, I want to talk
here it is.
specifically.
Here's the people are grateful. Thus they're giving us. They're giving. That's fucked. That's no people violent like being violent, throwing water bottles, setting off firecrackers, burning things. They are being they're feeding right into what Trump wants. They're being so counterproductive to like the actual message or the purpose of the protest. Another thing too is people got to organize way better. Like, what is the ask, really? Defund ICE? Like, no, that's not happening. ICE is an important service, but you can argue about, like, the levels of enforcement or where they don't pick their spots. Like, there's no... I get you're joking, but, like, seriously, people... Hit me, God of War 45, 47. I'm imagining that's a reference to Trump. Unless you're Kratos. Yeah, but hit me. I'm always open to Trump forever. Good question. Do you actually have a question? Your question is, make Among Us great again. Gridiron game. Pee-wee football. Pee-wee tot ball. Wow. Gridiron game. Something football. Yo. This is gonna be the most well eloquently phrased perfect question. So here's that other view of that senator
Socialist and the
arrested.
Burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to insert into this city. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been able to do this.
Is this going to be a what is a woman type thing?
So I want to talk specifically
to
the rioters and to the politicians in Los Angeles.
All right, maybe. This is stupid.
I also want to talk about specifically how
Damn, they
many
just
of our ICE
moved on
agents
from
have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been
What's
targeted,
all-
and how their families have been put in jeopardy, and that we're not going to allow that anymore as well. That those individuals who are purposely endangering our
Elbow
ICE,
to the
ICE
orchestra?
agents
I don't know that.
and our law enforcement officers and their families will be prosecuted for what they are doing as far as perpetuating violence on them.
Wait,
I want to know...
So, what's your question/point? I
that the American people are grateful for our law
Oh my
enforcement
God.
officers. We will always respect them, and that President Trump is thankful for the leadership that has been shown by all of these agencies. In fact, President Trump did call in, and I did visit with him today, and he also visited with all of these agencies here this morning and thanked them for what they are doing to make sure that they are protecting the United States of America.
I don't necessarily think it's Democrats. I think it's people farther left than the Democrats that kind of just are like, America's bad forever and always. I don't think MAGA's doing a great job of bringing people together either. No, Jesus, Dragon Soul, just chillax a little bit.
America. The images that we've seen out of Los Angeles the last several days has simply been un-American by the protesters and the violence that we've seen perpetuated. Masked thugs are assaulting police officers. They're setting vehicles on fire. They're waving foreign flags on American soil while burning American flags. And they've damaged public property and destroyed private businesses. We need to make sure that we are continuing to protect the citizens that live here and want this community to be safe. Let me give you just a few examples of those who have been rioting.
Got a sense
that
of
many politicians like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass are defending. There was a Vietnamese illegal alien who committed a mass shooting at a graduation party in 1994 that we've been able to take off the streets. A Filipino illegal alien that was convicted of an assault with intent to commit rape that we've been able to bring up into custody and incarceration. You see behind you some more profiles of individuals that have brought into custody through the operations we have here. A Mexican illegal alien convicted of willfully cruelty to a child, and on and on and on. Those individuals and those criminals are now off the streets of Los Angeles because of the activities that have been conducted here in the last several days and will continue to operate for days to come. When these riots first began on Friday night, a federal law enforcement building was surrounded by over 1,000 violent rioters, and it took Los Angeles Police Department 2 hours to respond. So we are going to continue to operate with our federal partners and continue to keep asking the governor and the mayor for their support and their backup in these operations to make sure that all of our law enforcement officers are protected while they do their work. We're going to protect American cities from lawlessness, and we'll do what it takes to put the American citizens first and make sure they have the opportunity to sleep safely in their beds at night. I just want to say God bless all of our men and women of the military that serve, all of those who serve in our law enforcement agencies and in public service, that make great sacrifices away from their homes and from their families, but they do it because they believe in America, and they believe in freedom, and they believe in law and order, and that is what we are doing right here today and will continue to do for days to come until Los Angeles once again is at peace. So with that, we'll turn it over to our next speaker, which I believe will be Todd Lyons from ICE.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I'm Todd Lyons. I'm the acting ICE director. Also, I'm the National Incident Commander for the situation. But I'd just like to say thank you, Secretary Noem. She said it best. There's really not much more I can say. It's without her leadership that we wouldn't be out here conducting this mission. President Trump fully has our back on this one, and we're doing the will of the American people. I want to thank the brave men and women of ICE, HSI, ERO, our attorneys with the Office of Public Legal Counsel, because without them, this would not be possible. They put their lives on the line every day.
Yeah.
You also see my fellow agency heads here with me, and many that are not up here on stage. The men and women of law enforcement have been putting themselves in harm's way every night since we've been here in Los Angeles. What we've done here is taken a whole government approach for this immigration mission. You know, under the last administration, there was millions upon millions of people that we don't know who came to this country. They were let in, that now have turned violent criminals. Also, we have known suspected terrorists and gang members.
Don't say it.
Since January 20th, we've been making arrests in Los Angeles and all around the country. But specifically, we've focused on gang members, human traffickers, violent drug dealers, and rapists. You know, the Secretary brought it up. You know, the rhetoric of a lot of elected officials and people, what really caused this. We've heard so much. If ICE had a criminal warrant, if ICE had a judicial warrant, cities would cooperate with us. On this past Friday, you saw that. You saw the men and women of ICE and these other DOJ partners executing a criminal warrant. There was an
increase in the amount
on
of
a criminal immigration
groups. I guess that's they avoided my auto mod. Get the fuck. Ban that. Steeled wings. I do not want your free viewers. Thank you very much. Okay, more Marines in LA, I guess, isn't true. Am I fucking stupid, then?
enforcement case, yet the city turned against us and we had violent protesters. And that just won't happen because the men and women of ICE won't be deterred by this. We're going to be out there every day conducting our law enforcement mission. No protesters are going to block our way because the brave men and women of ICE and these DOJ parties you see up here, along with our partners with the Los Angeles Police Department, are going to ensure that we handle these protesters, but we are out there safely conducting.
Fairly sure it's people that have been to war.
Conducting these operations, and we will get the worst off the street. And I also like to thank the Department of Defense and National Guard who has come here to assist us on that. You know.
Okay. No, I guess
we'll prosecute all these cases. Just, you know, the Secretary highlighted so many. You see them up here. But we have a wanted man from Mexico who fled and hid in Los Angeles for killing a woman. You have an MS-13 gang member who killed 2 individuals during a botched catalytic converter theft ring case. These aren't the individuals you want in Los Angeles. These aren't the individuals you want in the United States. ICE is going to keep doing their job, and we're going to do it to the best of our ability with our DOJ partners. But with the Secretary's leadership and the full support of the U.S. Attorney to prosecute these criminals, we will continue enforcing the immigration mission that President Trump and the American people expect us to do. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the FBI.
Sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Akil Davis. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of FBI Los Angeles. As you know, the FBI has been assisting the Department of Homeland Security with immigration enforcement since February. We're just one of many field offices doing this nationwide, as directed by the Attorney General, and we're accustomed to providing investigative and technical assistance to.
Yeah, vets get some like bonuses, discounts, and other like their protected status. There's hiring requirements for them. Yeah.
Law enforcement at all levels on a regular basis. We have agents embedded up with our operational teams with DHS. Our help vary depending on what DHS needs, and they let us know moment by moment. We have significant tactical resources across the enterprise here throughout our 7-county AOR to assist and support these efforts. That said,
they usually
we find
will.
ourselves
At a lot of sporting events, you'll have like a veterans appreciation thing, typically.
Defending operations from violent offenders. The FBI safeguards constitutionally protected rights. We invest.
By most people in the U.S., yes, veterans are respected. There's some farther left folk that are not so happy with them, but generally, yes.
Investigate civil rights violations on a daily basis, but some activity keeps taking place among righteous protesters is not civil. It's violent. We're going to investigate allegations of violence, whether it's assault on law enforcement officers or civilians, looting, arson, doxing, or damage to public property. So please, I'm asking the community, do not put your life in jeopardy by hurting someone or destroying property.
Completely agree.
You will be held accountable by the FBI, and it's not worth it.
Request for...
I'd like to highlight 2 cases for you to show what the FBI's line of effort is in this overall DHS-led operation. Elpidio Reyna is a fugitive. He is wanted for the alleged assault of a federal officer in the city of Paramount, in California on June 7th, 2025. Reyna allegedly threw rocks at law enforcement vehicles on Alondra Boulevard in Paramount and injured a federal officer. Reyna is 40 years old, weighs around 165 pounds, and is 5'7". Reyna has a tattoo on his left arm with the word Carmen on it. We have photos of him on display. Reyna will be caught, and when he is, he will face a statutory maximum penalty of 8 years in prison. This is such a priority for the United States government.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what forum you would use to do that, but there's plenty of interviews with different veterans from various wars you can watch. You can probably find someone talking.
That there is a reward.
You thinking about joining a military?
Of up to $50,000 for information leading to his arrest. Let me repeat that. $50,000 for information leading to his arrest. The second case I'd like to highlight is on a subject named Alejandro Oriana. Alejandro was providing masks and
Not at all. I'm not a cynic. I really do appreciate the general peace, relative peace, and in the worlds. I know there's not, like, you know, there's a lot of wars going on. As far as things go, it's a relatively peaceful time when you look at the broad span of history. So I do appreciate that.
and face shields
Okay,
to violent
do
rioters
this.
throughout the week
Shall I protest?
and was arrested by our SWAT teams this morning. With the
Then let's
success
do
and appreciation and assistance from the
main
United States Attorney's Office,
points.
that case is ongoing, but Ariana is in custody as we speak. If you have information or evidence of
course.
violent acts, please either call 1-800-CALL-FBI, visit tips.fbi.gov, or send images or video to our digital tip line at fbi.gov/LA Office Assault. Thank you, and I will now turn it over to Chief Bovino, United States Border Patrol. Thank you, Chief.
Of course not. You gotta be.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
It's actually, it's like proven to be very. Who's ready for Saturday parade? It'll be something. That's for sure. My question to you is, do you think it's just a coincidence that it's on Trump's birthday? Not that it's the military parade's not like the biggest issue in my mind, like, but just curious if you think it's just happy accident that it's on his birthday or that was planned. Just out of curiosity. I'm not trying to like ascribe anything to you.
I'm Greg Bovino, Chief Patrol Agent of the El Centro Border Patrol Sector and Lead Federal Coordinator for Customs and Border Protection entities here in Los Angeles. Entities include U.S. Border Patrol,
Oh my god.
Office of Field Operations, and CBP Air and Marine. We have several hundred agents and officers
My Twitch
here in Los
paused on my
Angeles
phone.
right now as we speak. Our primary mission
There we go.
here in Los Angeles revolves around Title 8 United States Code. Let me say that again. Title 8 United States Code. Those are our immigration statutes. If you look behind us at these pictures on the wall, immigration's not a victimless crime.
Just tone it
A
down
lot
by
of
like
bad people.
20%.
A lot of bad things.
Yeah. I get it. Military parades aren't typical in the US. I am sympathetic to the view that it's like a show of force. I understand why people are scared of it. Definitely. Because it's just not typical. In the US, it does seem like a higher militarization, I guess, and just showing force to the citizenry. But that's the thing, right? Like, North Korea does do them, Russia does them, Europe does them occasionally. I thought the last time we did one was after Desert Storm, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that one, though. It's not typical, and, you know, there's some undertones that I'm sympathetic to. I don't think it's the biggest deal. But there are undertones that have to be acknowledged, I guess.
Are in our country now, including Los Angeles. For Customs and Border Protection, that's why we're here. right now is to remove those bad people and bad things, whether illegal aliens, drugs, or otherwise. We're here and we're not going away. Border Patrol, Office of Field Operations, and Air and Marine, you'll see us in Los Angeles. You'll continue to see us in Los Angeles, not going anywhere soon. As for the violence and the demonstrators, violence will not deter us, the CBP mission here in Los Angeles. I believe we saw that last Sunday night out at Paramount. We continued to conduct our patrols as we saw
write whatever you
necessary
want. Just don't
in the middle of that riot.
Yeah, you're good. Just
And
write
we'll
whatever you want.
continue
Free speech and all
to
that.
do that from here on out. Our allied law enforcement agencies, many of whom you've already heard from, whether it's HSI, ERO, FBI, ATF, and all others, join with us
Yeah, they'll say illegal
as
aliens.
we conduct that Title VIII mission. Very historic. First time I've ever seen it in my almost 30-year career. It's actually breathtaking. Many millions of illegal aliens have passed across that border over the past several years. It's our job to get them out. And that's what we are going to do, and that's what we're doing right now. Thank you.
The lawsuit. All right, let's do.
Good morning. My name is Kenny Cooper.
I'm U.S. I'm in the Northeast. I've lived in California, but most of my time's been in the Northeast. I've lived in Chicago, been down south, went to college in the Midwest. I am the omni-American, brother. I'm proud of this country. I am quite patriotic. And I'm center-left. How about yourself, Kratos, if you will?
Special Agent in Charge, ATF, LA Field Division. The Department of Justice will not be deterred from enforcing this nation's laws.
Okay, so
ATF is on the ground doing what we do best, fighting violent crime and protecting our communities regardless.
South Central LA? All right. So you're presumably... So wait, are you close to any of the protest stuff? Like, I guess what's your view on it? What's your view on the National Guard being deployed? Give me your take.
Regardless of the environment around us.
So
our agents.
I have like a position I'm trying to fully solidify on this, and I'd love to hear some counter arguments. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not, like, if someone's here respectfully and we can argue in a calm and respectful manner, I don't care where you are on the political spectrum.
Are trained to operate in high threat, high tension situations. When federal authorities move to execute court-authorized warrants, we support that mission with professionalism, precision, and resolve. ATF stands shoulder to shoulder with
Greatest
our
in the
federal
world,
partners
brother.
in this whole-of-government approach.
So elaborate. Like...
ATF stands also shoulder to shoulder, including to carry out our immigration enforcement mission. If a criminal threat intersects with that mission, we bring our full capacities to the table. Let's be clear, obstructing a lawful federal operation, especially through violence or threats, is not protective activity. It's a crime. And those who cross that line will be held to account. We don't get to pick and choose when to enforce the law. Our job is to
Arizona,
uphold it.
yeah. Arizona's, I like
ATF
Arizona.
will continue to
I
pursue
like the drier
violent
desert
offenders,
states.
support our partners,
And I like
and
our whole
keep
country.
doing the hard
I'm a
work
very proud American.
this public demands. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bill Saley, the United States Attorney for the Central District of California. On behalf of my office in the Department of Justice, I'm here to show our support.
You want lower home prices? People gotta let people fucking build. damn houses. That's the there's a fiscal conservative somewhere in me where it's like, just let people fucking build. Don't over-regulate housing too much. Like, ICE is coming with the deportation orders. LAPD, I don't know if the K is supposed to be added on there. It's told to stand down so the National Guard is there to protect them. Wait, so ICE is coming with deportation orders. That's fair. Yeah. LAPD can't, nor should they, impede ICE. But the National Guard was deployed after the protests, and from what Trump said, it seemed like they were there to reinforce LAPD for the protesters and to protect federal buildings. It's a multiple use, but LAPD also should be was and should be arresting people who are, trying to attack ICE agents. And I think ICE has the authority to arrest people impeding their operations, if I'm not mistaken.
And
so I think the National Guard, my point is the National Guard deployment was, one, not asked for by Newsom or the LAPD. The mayor told to stand down in what regard? So let's say, again, Mayor Abbas, what's her name? Abbas, LAPD stand down. Is this the Daily So? Okay.
We have several instances of attempted murder of police officers.
Do not arrest. Well, yeah, protesters shouldn't be arrested, but violent people committing crimes should be.
Officers and federal agents. This is an absolute mess. This is not going to get quieter anytime soon. Any media outlet who tries...
I feel like Abbas was pretty... Okay, hold on. So this is June 9th. Don't make me pay for shit. I just want to read. Leaked reports. I'd have to be blamed as well? Blamed for what? Bass. Is it just a Bass or a Bass? MPD stand down leak. Is there any, like... They did a protest. Okay, what is... Yeah, it's... Look, people burning cars and getting arrested for it isn't a tragedy. ICE enforcing immigration law isn't, like, a tragedy. The real issue is, and the protesters don't know it, and especially the rioters don't know it, the actual issue is when ICE and the government goes through with deportations without following the proper procedure, or if they're arresting people they don't have, like, I guess, I don't know if you call it warrants for or orders to arrest, including, like, citizens and such. That's the actual issue. But what the people in the protests are saying is, like, defund ICE. ICE needs to get fully out of LA, and that's just not a tenable solution at all. If the protests were, like, organized and peaceful and had a coherent message of, look, ICE has the right to do a lot of things, it shouldn't be holding citizens on deportation orders, and they have to follow the process. If that was the message, that would be completely fine. But, like, ICE has the right to do what they do. It's enforcing the laws. And you take on a certain amount of risk if you're here illegally. Everyone is trying to. Trump's capitalizing on it. Some of the protesters are capitalizing on it. It works for Trump if it escalates, and it works for the more extreme protesters if it escalates. But for fellas like myself, and I would like to think most of the country, we want just, a more reasonable enforcement of immigration. And also not burning shit to send a very incoherent message.
Our collaboration with the Department of Homeland Security in their mission to protect the American people and to do immigration enforcement operations, specifically at targeted known criminals, which is the primary focus of most of our missions to date. I want to also thank the National Guard and the military. We had judicial warrants to do what we did on both Friday and Saturday. And the amount of resistance and organized agitators that showed up to try to impede us was overwhelming. And we're really grateful to the President for deploying the Guard, which allowed us to continue our mission undeterred, to enforce the law, and to keep our people and our buildings safe. And that's really important. And my office has been aggressive in bringing charges. We charged several people over the weekend who dared to assault our agents. They threw rocks, they threw stones, they were breaking up concrete. It was out of control and it was violent. And some people in the state of California have been conditioned to...
Really? What? So what are they saying internationally? It's just like, are they trying to make it like the cops are beating down on these innocent protesters? Or are they showing like some of the violence from the protesters? They say they're burning. Well, I mean, I don't know how much of the difference between burning cars versus Waymos is Waymos are remember after the fires people wanted to they show the National Guard Trump's lips, other stuff. The fuck? Okay. Yeah, but okay, so after the fires, you're saying they wanted to recall, but is there like a process for that? Did they go through that?
think that there's no consequences for criminal activity. And that might be true for the state of California, but it's not true with the federal government. And we will bring charges and you will go to federal prison. This is the federal government. Anything. This is not the state government. As the president said, if you spit, we hit, and we'll hit you with a felony.
I'm not finding anything like substantive on the stand down orders. If you have a source for that, you can link me. But
we're committed to that. We're continuing to conduct. We're looking at hundreds of suspects. We're collecting media, social media, videos. We'll be combing over that stuff for weeks and months with the FBI. And just because you think you got away with something over the weekend, think again. In a few months from now, you could get a knock at your door. So anyone who's thinking about showing up to these
yeah, I did. My take on that is like, I mean, he was barging into something that I don't think it's as large. Like, he was barging in to a federal conference that he wasn't supposed to be at or speak at. It's just, I don't. Honestly, I think it's more of a nothing burger than people are making it out to be. Like, it was, what's his fucking name? Oh, it's Chud. Well, hop in Discord and tell me why it's Chud Burger. Yeah, no, it's big nothing burger, in my humble opinion. You should check out John Hicks' videos on YouTube. Maybe.
protest to commit violence, I really caution you to think again. It's not worth it. We charged 2 individuals yesterday with throwing Molotov cocktails at police officers. That is extremely dangerous and could lead to death. They're now looking at explosives charges charged by the federal government and more charges to come. So I just want to reiterate that we will be aggressive, we will be filing, and we will be swift in our deliverance of justice. And
if it's about him like riding through the protests and stuff, we've watched a lot of like on the ground stuff and aerial footage of the protests or riots, call them what you will. It doesn't really matter to me what you call them, because my position remains the same, I guess.
I want to thank our partners at the FBI and the ATF and DHS and all our agencies for their hard work. It has not
But I might watch a
been
few of
easy.
those
They've been
later.
working around the clock, but they're undeterred. And I can tell you, speaking to them, they are more committed than ever to delivering on the promise of the president to make America safe again. And we need that in California probably more than
How many
anywhere else. So
signatures
with
does
that,
the recall
thank you very much.
thing have?
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that, and everyone for their comments. And with that, we're going to open it up to questions, but we're going to keep it specifically to questions that pertain to this topic and some of the operations that are ongoing here in Los Angeles and how we will sustain and build on those operations in the future. So do you want to go first?
Matt Rivers,
Yes.
ABC News.
Yes.
A question for you about future planning. We know that there's more protests planned for this weekend.
Yes.
Is there?
Is DHS actively planning on requesting
Is it
more
Mayor
assistance
Bass
from
or
DoD,
Abel?
more troops, given those protests that are coming? Is this the administration's new playbook?
Oh my
You know
god!
what I
I'm
would say is that I'm not going
sorry. I've been reading too much fucking Palestine shit.
to telegraph exact statistics and numbers and what
that's
we're
a
doing
real
as far as participation with the military. But we do have several thousand
Sorry.
engaged here in Los Angeles right now. We are assessing this weekend's threat levels, not
Favorite city in the U.S.? Oof. Oh, I mean, obviously, I'm partial to New York. I'm not a huge fan of L.A. Chicago was okay. I'll have to think on that. I don't really like any of the Florida cities. Probably New York.
not just here, but in cities across the country, and pre-deploying assets. So we're using every tool that we have in our toolbox and pre-staging people, task forces, special swift response teams, people with specific
Oh,
gifts
Boston.
and
Yeah,
talents
I'd
that they can
say
contribute
Boston
to
for me,
areas that we
actually.
think
Good
they may be
point.
needed this
Completely fucking
this
forgot about that.
weekend, so that we can prevent any
How
kind
many
of violence from being
signatures?
But it's on
perpetuated.
the table, the idea of bringing more troops.
You know, I would say the president has the right to utilize every authority that he has under the Constitution to utilize
shit.
Title X and to bring in military
Well, if you
assets
get
and National Guard
130,000
units
more,
as needed, and he'll
be put
continue
on the
to assess
table.
that and use his prerogative to decide when it's necessary. Yeah.
Madam Secretary, you had previously asked the Defense Secretary to direct troops to arrest people. Is that something you'd still like to see?
You know, I think what I had talked was a conversation with the Department of Defense
Let's see.
to
What
ask them to use
Newscom's
the
sitting
authorities
at?
that they have in
All right.
conjunction with the president to make sure that there's consequences for people who perpetuate violence. So that is what the assessment is, and they're being utilized to the fullest extent to which the president wishes to at this point in time. And I'm so thankful we have a U.S. attorney and a Department of Justice that is going out there and prosecuting these crimes as well. That's something that was very different under the Biden administration, that is a game changer now. We have a
The
president
National
now that believes
Review.
in the rule of law, and that is going to make sure that when people break the law, no matter who you are, that you will be prosecuted and you will be brought to justice. Yes, sir.
Madam Secretary,
Yes.
Salvador Duran,
Oh
Leadership
my
Network.
god.
Yeah.
Two questions for you. The first one is, do you have an estimated number of
Bro.
people that have been detained and
Wait, what?
deported?
If you don't mind my asking, what cities have you been to in the U.S.?
And the second question I have to ask you, would you please address Senator Padilla's interruption to the press conference?
You know,
And
I'm
would you
not-
consider
Yeah.
even pressing charges for what we just witnessed here?
Oh, you know what, I don't even know the senator. He did not request a meeting with me or to speak with me. So when I leave here, I'll have a conversation with him and visit and find out really what his concerns were. I think everybody in America would agree.
What is your, what do you mean by civil disobedience? Because I'm assuming burning cars and shit doesn't fall into that, nor like Molotovs and whatnot. That's just violence. Like, yeah, I mean, look, him being arrested is a stunt. It's gonna get attention on him. It's gonna push something. I mean, it's a good stunt, I guess. How you doing, Cade Mon? Bro, he walked into a room and got attacked. It's a little different than that, but it is good propaganda. Both sides are gonna get some shit out of it. Where's Gandhi when we need him? Dude. In moment. Let me pull up the video of him getting arrested. Oh, Mike Johnson calls for the censure of Alex Padilla. That's
Did federal agents go too far the way they treated Senator Padilla today? Was that a bridge too far?
I saw the same video, a very brief video that I think many people did. I think the senator's actions, my view is it was wildly inappropriate. You don't charge a sitting cabinet secretary, and everybody can draw their own conclusions. You can see it's
what is what about?
a heated debate here. I'm not going to respond to that. Let me just, hold on, wait just a second. I think the American people can draw their own conclusions. They saw a senator acting like wildly inappropriate. I'll leave it at that. So.
But what about the way he was treated by the neighbors?
What I saw was agents asking him to quieten down so that the secretary could continue her press conference. He refused to do so. What were they supposed to do? They have to restrain someone who is engaging in that kind of behavior. They moved him out of the room.
To the ground, handcuffed him.
Tomorrow is Friday the 13th.
Member of Congress should not act like that. It is beneath a member of Congress. It is beneath the U.S. senator. They're supposed to lead by example.
Look out for black cats and ladders, I suppose.
We have to turn the temperature down in this country and not escalate it. The Democrat Party is on the wrong side. They are defending lawbreakers, and now they are acting like lawbreakers themselves. And I think that's oversight, charging a cabinet secretary in a press conference. I beg to differ. I think the people do as well. I think those actions speak for themselves.
What's this February 2nd protest? Shut down the 101. Is shutting down a highway an arrestable offense if you have like a sanctioned protest? All right, so let's do Padilla arrest. Oh boy. Looking at clips about the Russian shadow fleet. Okay, do tell.
City. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been able to do this. Also, I want to talk specifically to the rioters and to the politicians in Los Angeles.
The fact of the matter is, a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to talk about
Yeah, no, I'm saying they were right to arrest him. I guess we'll see. We'll follow the outcome of this. I mean, some level of civil disobedience is probably good. Dodge by yelling at one dude. So this is fucking. Sorry, I'm tripping nuts. Not tripping nuts, but whatever. Try to stop Doge by leaving at one dude, then leaving. Yeah, probably. This again, it's stunts. People are gonna. We'll see what he gets out of this. He's gonna make a big deal out of it. If this can rally more people, then that's great. But the thing about civil disobedience is part of the goal is to present yourself as very like rational, normal, following normal like norms, or I guess that's redundant, and then like being arrested or having violence enacted against you seemingly unprompted, that those images and those videos tend to resonate a little stronger. Okay, hold on, okay. Sorry.
Agree that that wasn't appropriate.
There's a lot of
that
things
if you
to look
wanted
at.
to have a civil discussion, especially as a leader, a
Are
public official,
protesters
that you would reach out and try to have a
allowed
conversation.
to
For
walk
instance, I have left voicemails for Governor Newsom wanting to have a conversation. Has he returned them? No, he hasn't. I know that the White House has reached out and had conversations with Mayor Bass as well. And so that's what you do to try to start these conversations and ask for partnerships. Unfortunately, we haven't met that in this area. I'll visit with the senator and find out really what his concerns are and what we can do.
And as far as the estimate number of people that have...
You know, what I would say is that we have over 1,500 people that
So what is the
we have
charge, I
been
guess?
interdicting with, arresting for different situations, and we will continue to build on that. That's been just over the last few days. Know that we have more assets now today than we did yesterday. We had more yesterday than we did the day before, so we are only building momentum. This is only going to continue and be increased until we
Okay.
have peace on the streets of Los Angeles. The president has told me, Christy, use everything that we have to make sure that the citizens of Los Angeles know that we care about them, that they have lived with crime for far too long, and that we want them to be able to walk their children to school in the morning and feel safe. We want them to...
This is good. The society on your side. If you fail, it's fruitless to continue. Just ask all the minions, save Earthers who... Yeah, I mean, when you splash paintings with soup and shit, that's just gonna piss people off because people like paintings, so... Yeah, like, what was that guy, Green, the guy with the cane who was yelling? I think that was a example of, like, good civil disobedience, because, you know, you're there, you're protesting, you're making a stink, and then you get all the images of you getting, like, carried off and censured. And they like soup. Yeah, sure. Painted stuff. Yeah, don't destroy, like, nationally or just universally adored things. Like, pick your spots. Act in a, like, if you want to do civil disobedience properly, you got to act in a manner that most people would say, okay, these people are just going about, even if it's a protest, just normal, like, protesting. And then if the reaction is outsized, then you're creating a very strong image, which is helpful generally to your cause. But, like, you know, if you're throwing, like, a rock at a cop and then you get arrested, no one's gonna be like, oh my god, how could the cops do this?
Small businesses downtown to not...
Just be normal, I guess. And I don't know how effective the interrupting this is going to be. We'll see.
have to worry about getting burned to the ground because some organized crime nonprofit funder is deciding that now is the time to send a political message or an agenda. So we're going to stay here and build our operations until we make sure that we liberate the city of Los Angeles. Yes, back there. I'm going to do two more if that's okay. Go ahead.
License
Can you talk a little bit about the specific number in terms of immigration-related arrests that you've made, both daily and you know, in LA specifically?
Well, we literally have tens of thousands of targets. So I think that's what's more important. People should know that there are millions of people that are in this city illegally, and that we have, I would say, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of targets that we will be going after. Remember, this president has repeatedly said that he's going after criminals and the worst of the worst. And we're going after people that are in work sites that are trafficking drugs, that are trafficking human beings. We're DNA testing children because many times when you see people claiming that their family members or the children they have with them that are theirs, many times when we DNA testing, they're not. They're really peddling our children, and and they have human slavery going on, child trafficking, pedophilia.
No. Let me look that up while we're on the subject of civil disobedience. Fucking Chiblee, man. Wait. So let's just do tomato soup, painting, and you said Miss Plumber? Is this it? I'm gonna take a stab that this is it. Remember these climate activists? Like, that's a bad look. Obviously. Alright. And I do open links in a different window.
I'm really delighted.
I'm really delighted to have the opportunity to speak with British. Trigger warning, British people.
To be joined by Just Stop Oil spokesman Phoebe Plummer. Thank you for coming in, because I know you don't agree with me. How do you square the circle that people want to be more prosperous, they want to lead comfortable lives, but
Let's
you're
do some
saying it's
dailies.
absolutely urgent we stop emissions now? How do you make the two work?
Hi, Jacob. Thank you so much for having me on. As you say, I'm Phoebe.
It should be up, right? This is the one? Yeah. Stream should be pretty limited delay.
I'm 21 and I'm a student from London and a supporter of Just Stop Oil. And I wonder why you think it's incompatible to help people with the cost of living crisis and to switch to renewables, which are 9 times cheaper than fossil fuels. Can you name me one of your viewers who is suffering the consequences of the cost of living crisis, who doesn't want their energy bills to be 9 times cheaper right now?
Well, unfortunately, that's not what's happening, because the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't
Holy
always...
fuck, wait. Okay, I don't know how they did the cameras. I would love to know what they're fucking doing here. She looks like she's, 2024, 2025. He looks like... This looks like it's recorded in like the 80s. How did they
and
make
you
him?
need to have
I
fossil
guess
fuel
just the
backup to
contrast
make
in
up the
hair.
gap. About half our energy every day is still coming from natural gas. Where's that going to come from?
Well, why aren't we implementing renewable technology? The largest solar farm in the UK was built in 6 weeks.
But it's not
It takes up to 28 years for any oil to come out of the ground in the North Sea.
But it's not going to produce any energy at night. That's the problem with renewables, is that they don't provide the base load that you need.
Wait, have you...
We already have the capacity to
feel like I
provide
recognize your
so
name from,
much
like,
of our
Twitter or
energy
something.
from renewables without any technology needed for storage solutions.
But where is this coming from? Because when the wind doesn't blow, when we had really cold days, we were reliant on importing from the EU, on coal and on gas. How are we going to replace that in the short term?
Quite frankly, I'm not a scientist. What I am doing is listening to what all the experts are saying. We're living in this...
Not extremist is too loaded of a word, but just the radical on either the radical or MAGA defense. Sorry, don't know anything about that. Oh shit, next argument.
Insane world where the experts aren't being listened to. The United Nations has called for no more oil and gas. The International Energy Agency has said we can have no new oil and gas. The IPCC report, the largest global report on the climate crisis, have all said we can have no new oil and gas. How many more experts need to say it?
Because we can't do it tomorrow. What are we going to do in terms of transport? That we still need petrol for cars and we need diesel for lorries. How are we going to get goods into supermarkets without
You're
this?
good, welcome.
Quite frankly, I'm not a scientist. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the world and we're living the effects of the climate crisis today. Right now, people are dying. Children are starving. Families are fleeing their homes.
But energy...
And it's preventable.
Energy-
We have the solutions.
Cheap energy is one of the things that has hugely extended life expectancy by the ability to control temperatures, whether this is by air conditioning or by heating,
Yeah,
the
there's quite a
ability
few
to
fellas
store
here.
food more effectively, the
Yeah, it's a
ability to
good day.
transport food, and indeed use fertilizers to grow more food. has all been essential in increasing life expectancy. Taking all that away would be disastrous for life expectancy.
Do you know what's essential in keeping our food supply? Tackling the climate crisis. This year we lost a third of our wheat crops,
thank you for the follow.
half of
Appreciate
our potato crops, and it's only going to get worse. We're heading to a future where people are going to be fighting over the last loaves of bread at Lidl.
But the only way we get our wheat crop is by putting the fertilizers on that come from fossil fuels.
It's old head fossil fuel defense versus like just no idea why fossil fuels are bad. Fucking Zoomer.
How are we going to replace that? That the productivity of
I haven't
organic
thought about
farming
that.
is so much lower than of modern farming methods. We cannot feed the world on organic farming, and you must know that.
How do you expect to feed the world when our crops are destroyed by droughts, floods, wildfires, storms?
You've always had weather events that have affected crops, but that actually using fossil fuels for fertilizers, moving on to genetic modification of crops, has enormously increased the yield.
Macron did
Since
that.
Malthus wrote, we've increased agricultural productivity by about 2% per annum. And this is what is allowing people to get extended life expectancy because they've got more certainty of food. And this all depends on cheap energy, which has come from fossil fuels.
Jacob, you have 6 children. Do you not care about their future? Do you not care about them being able to feed themselves? Because right now, under this government's policies, your 6 children are heading towards...
I also love that they're both British. It's like, bro, the size of Alabama. You can do anything you want, climate-wise. I think I already guessed.
A future that is filled with life-threatening extreme weather events, crop failures, famine, war. Suffering on a scale completely unimaginable.
I think you've taken the evidence for an evolving climate and then applied it in an extraordinarily extreme way and are forgetting about the enormous advantages.
I can't believe you're talking to me about an evolving climate.
Well, the climate
I can't believe you've done this.
Do you know how many people are suffering around the world?
What evidence is there that this is because we're using fossil fuels, that the climate evolves, but more people die each year from cold than from heat?
I know.
Have you read the IPCC report? What do you mean? What science?
But in terms, you're making extreme claims.
Is this right outside
you're
the
suggesting
BBC
by not
building?
using fossil fuels, we would not produce the food we need to feed the world population.
I'm suggesting that if we keep on heading down this genocidal path of mass destruction, then no, there
I was gonna say, I couldn't even think of it. Speaks for itself, man. My God.
there won't be any foods in the supermarket. Then we will see vast swathes of the world uninhabitable. We will see mass displacement of people.
But if you took out fossil fuels tomorrow, you would simply not have the productivity of agriculture you need to feed 8 or 9 billion people. And that would be tomorrow. I'm not saying you shouldn't reduce it.
I mean, there is a reality to, like, there is, like, a warming climate, and we are contributing to it. We should probably take steps gradually to, you know, not change it as much. But, like, extreme measures super quick, just like, yeah, right. This is why, like, you know, he's doing standard talking points that you'll hear from literally anyone over the age of 40, and this is just like, she's just zero understanding of anything. And she's like, here's a problem, I'm pissed about it, do maximalist shit instantly, and then when the question of, and then what? Or what would the impacts of that be? Just, it all falls apart. This is like, this could be applied, yeah, in the most feasible way, which is gradually, very slowly, with advancements in technology. This shit is stupid, obviously. Should you buy it? Oh my fucking God.
I'm not arguing that. I'm simply saying you must do it when you have the technology to replace the energy that you're using. Because otherwise, all the consequences you're arguing for will happen immediately. We will simply not have the food we need to feed the population of the world.
Jacob, you know we're not asking for the taps to be turned off tomorrow. All of you know that. We're asking for an end to all new fossil fuel licenses, in line with what climate scientists around the world are saying.
But if you turn it off for new licenses now, you're requiring a change that is going to happen before we have the technology in place to substitute for it. So you may be delaying it by a few years, but this has to be a rational...
Yeah, that's why we gotta... That's why I'm in support of drill, baby, drill. Just, you know, don't... Make sure, you know, you do it safely.
Process to do it once you've got the technology sorted out, and we haven't got the technology
even a liberal
yet.
at this point?
So I understand you're an economics man. Yes. So
well, I'm interested in economics.
Yeah. So I've done some maths for you. I hope you don't mind. I looked up your net worth online. It's quite easy to find.
Which is not actually true. It's easy to find, but it's not actually true.
In the hundreds of millions.
But that's not.
It costs around £20,000 to insulate a British home. So that's 8,000 British homes for your 150 net million, which is what it says online.
Which is untrue. But
do you really think that you're worth more than 8,000 cold, freezing families?
Have you seen the studies on insulation? That insulation...
Do you care about the people living in fuel poverty?
Very much so. When I was Secretary of State for Energy, I was responsible for developing the plan that has brought energy prices down for families. That was policy that I was intimately involved in designing, so of course I care about that.
So you do understand the report that you're asking me about says that the cost of insulating British homes is so expensive because of the government's failure to insulate British homes.
But what happens 3 years after people have insulated their homes? They use the same amount of energy as they did before. There's been a study on this, which I'm sure you've seen reports on. In the first year, they say...
What pisses me off is, like, I'm center left, and just even that, these are, like, people like this are what I'm roped in with. Just, come on. Come on, man.
Money. In the second year, they save a small amount of money. In the third year, they have actually made themselves warmer because the economics of it is they have a certain amount they can spend on energy.
What happens when the government fails to insulate British homes? 7.5 million British people live in fuel poverty. Parents are starving themselves so that they can feed their children, and people are freezing to death in their homes because they are forced to choose between heating...
They're a great representative of the mass, like thoughts, but not, like... I don't know. I think they're a representation of a lot. Maybe not the good points for either of their sides.
And eating. People are dying. Are you hearing me?
Because it's simply not true. The government introduced a cap on energy prices and support for families who couldn't afford energy prices, that those were brought in last year, and they are very significant supports to ensure...
What do you mean it's not true? Have you spoken to an ordinary person who is suffering the cost of the living crisis right now?
I don't believe there's any such thing as ordinary people. I believe everybody is in their individual way quite remarkable. I think ordinary people is the most condescending way of referring to our fellow British citizens.
Well, of course you don't relate to the ordinary people. You're a millionaire.
The figures, my personal circumstances, have nothing to do with whether we impoverish people by making energy prices higher. And you want to make them higher.
You want to make them high? Fuck yeah.
And
I'm
I
with her
don't.
now.
But what I'd say to you finally is, why don't you stand for election? Why do you think it is right to throw soup over a picture rather than standing election and seeing if you can get people to vote for your view of the world?
You're an educated man, Jacob. You know that this is how successful movements of social change happen. They must cause disruption. And Antonio Guterres, he's the Secretary General of the United Nations. He has said that we are on a highway to climate hell. He has said that licensing new fossil fuels is economic and moral madness. The Secretary General of the United Nations is calling for an end to all new fossil fuels. What makes you think that I have time to get into power and make these changes?
So you want to be a dictator? You don't want voters to decide.
That's absolutely not what I said, and you know
Why don't
that.
you stand for election? Put yourself forward and see if people want your way.
Because we don't have time. Because if I want to have a future, if I want to have a future where I can feed myself, where I can love my family,
we're not going to feed them. We're not going to feed them without fossil fuels, which are the essential fertilizers. Thank you for coming on.
This is pointless dribble. All right. Yeah, I mean. Crazy person speaks with old man. Episode 5 trillion. It was funny. It was entertaining. So.
So we are going after those individuals that we have intelligence on, and we will continue to only build on that. And yes, I'm sorry to get you right away.
Yeah, I mean,
there is some rhetoric out there.
Being calm, like most of the time, I'd say, gives you a lot of credence. Unless it's 2016, I guess. Then you can just do the nicknames and you win.
That some of the people who have been detained, arrested, in detention are not criminals or do not have a criminal history. Can you address that? There's a lot of rhetoric out there that claims...
There's a lot of rhetoric and there's a lot of false information and a lot of fake news. So I'd appreciate it if you guys would start covering the facts. So we'll get you all that information that we possibly can.
Can you address
now, there may be people that because of the targets that we were out there arresting, that were with those individuals, they were collaterals that were spending time with them, and all those people will be vetted. And remembering, still in the United States, if you come into this country illegally, you have committed a crime. And so when you do that, we have to go through and follow the law and make sure that we're adjudicating that and dealing with that appropriately. So the president's targets and priorities are the criminals that have perpetuated violence, but also, once again, I'm going to remind everybody, you have the opportunity.
It's the first time in years you were correct on the time yesterday thing.
Opportunity to self-deport. We will buy you a plane ticket. We will give you $1,000 when you land in your home country or if you go home to Mexico, and then we will get you scheduled so that you can come back to this country legally. You will have the opportunity to come back to the United States of America. If you don't do that and you wait until we come and arrest you and have to remove you, you will never get the chance to come and live in the United States of America again. The president has been clear on this. So I'd encourage you to get on the CBP Home app, and you can self-deport today, and we will facilitate that. You can take your entire family with you, people and your loved ones, and we will facilitate you coming to this country correctly. Everybody has the opportunity to do that. If you wait until we have to arrest you, you will never get to be an American, much less live here and work here and be able to pursue the American dream. Last question.
Madam Secretary, Alejandro Ortiz with Telemundo 52.
Yes.
You just said that you go after the worst of the worst. But we've seen ICE arresting immigrants in front of their court hearings when they go to their annual immigration check-ins. Even if they're going
remember,
through the
these are
legal
people-
process, are we sending a message as a country that people, even with no criminal record,
Thank
and
God.
that they're taking the legal correct path?
Thank God North Dakota's GDP is
If they
all
took the
up
legal correct path, they would have come here legally. They wouldn't have come into our country illegally. Second
But
of all,
some of them
they
are
have final
criminals. They have
removal
come
orders.
here and
They have
maybe
final.
they overstayed their visa.
They have
Violated security. He was yes, that I don't think you're gonna find any disagreement with that here. Guess who farted this guy? It's still a great name. Yeah, it's intended to be political theater. I think he went there with the intention of getting arrested or at least causing a scene. The effectiveness of it remains to be seen for sure, but I don't think it'll be very effective. I think Trump is gonna be like, look at these wild, loony Democrats, and all right, have fun. See you tomorrow. And the left is gonna, or Democrats will be like, see, it's the regime is clamping down on our speech and our protests. I honestly think the Republicans are going to win out in this one, but we'll see. But
final removal orders, and we're following.
That's a civil offense, but not a
I don't know
criminal.
what the fuck this is.
It is actually under their acts that the president has invoked through his executive orders. It actually is a criminal offense. And so one of the things that we need to remember is that when you're going out there and talking about what is happening with individuals who are in this country,
We need to have an ICE Reddit unit. That's I would support that.
legally, is that they have the opportunity every single day to return back home, and we will work.
I have way more European viewers. It's like a 3-to-1 ratio of European chatters versus Americans. That's funny.
With them and facilitate that and work with their families. But if they
I'm the
choose to
liaison,
wait
I
back
guess.
and to not make that decision today, then
Say about people living around the area, the LA protests, they were truly shocked about the behavior. They wanted the EVs removed because they don't want kids playing in the burnt out cars. The city refused so far. Really?
and they are subject to this type of operation that will target those that have criminal activity and backgrounds and perpetuators of violence first. Those are our targets. But we are going to make sure that we're bringing peace back to the city of Los
I just talked to an immigration
Angeles.
attorney. She told me she has
That's
hundreds
wild
of
to
cases
say.
of people coming in asking for asylum. They go to their immigration check-in.
So
and they're being
my only
arrested
question to you, I'd say a
without
question
having
back
the-
to you
the
is,
right of their due process.
which laws and
Cells around
places
the
should be
street
enforced?
untouched. My chat is everything but American. True. Well, I don't know if the I don't know where. I guess. I mean, there's a couple Americans in here, but a lot of Europeans, which I'm fine with.
And which ones shouldn't.
Good time.
I mean, my job, here's the deal, guys.
Just
My
trying
job
to
is
be
not to pick and choose which laws we enforce and which ones we don't.
Communist state
We
of
have laws in this
Minnesota.
country.
I do love. Yeah, Minnesota. I don't think I've been to Minnesota, but I have spent a lot of time in Midwest. Just not northern Midwest, mostly in Indiana. Sometime in
And they
Chicago.
matter. If you want the law changed, go to Congress. When's the last time you went to Capitol Hill and told your senator or representative to change it? That's what they need to do. This is the perfect time for Congress to make a decision on how they want people in this country to be able to have an opportunity to come here legally and to fix this. We, as law enforcement officers,
So they're still
and as a
there, but is
national
there an
security
order?
department and agency, my job is to uphold the law, and that's what I will continue to do. Yes, sir, I'm going to finish with you. I kind of like the Bass Pro hat too, so I'm going to go here and then I'm going to go here.
Whose job
Go
is it?
ahead. Yes.
Is this unique to Los Angeles? Does
Nope,
Los
these
Angeles have
operations-
something, or can
I
other
will say
cities answer
these
the same?
operations
A
have been
real-life
much more difficult
PSA.
because of Los Angeles and California's sanctuary policies. SB 54 has been difficult for us, and we don't have the backup of your local law enforcement. That's put our officers in danger. In fact, even this morning, we had Highway Patrol that we were working with. I was talking to officers. They were so happy that we were here, and they were grateful that we were here interdicting with these criminals. And then the governor found out that I was here, and he pulled them off of me and told him to go back home and to not cooperate with us anymore. So if you don't think your governor's being political, he gets up every single day and the first hat he puts on is the political one, and then he makes
He is the governor.
a decision that's best for him and his family, and then he makes a decision that's best for what his future is, and then maybe 10 or 15 steps down the line, he'll decide what's best for his people.
Could other
That's what your
cities
governor
anticipate
does.
the same
Next,
thing?
I'm going to come to you.
Can we talk about the potential change in policy with President Trump talking about maybe suggesting exemption for longstanding farm workers and hotel workers?
Do you have the
Yeah, I think
link to the
president
article?
recognizes that we have some Department of Labor regulations and laws that we can utilize in certain situations, and he and I have discussed this at length and with other cabinet officials, and the president and I will continue to look at.
Although I would think that, I mean, if you have a curfew, you have the time overnight to remove the cars. Is there something showing that they're still there, like, today?
That and evaluate what we can do as far
Let's
as
see.
individuals and facilitating a workforce in this country that we know are people who want to be here legally. What the consequences are for them breaking the law, because everybody, when they break the law, there has to be
Give me a moment.
consequences.
YouTube,
But what
close
we can
enough.
do to facilitate making sure that those who
Okay, let's
really
try
do
and
love
just
the
get
United
a-
States of America have the opportunity at some point to live here and to be a part of our future and to be
Oh,
a
yeah,
part of
that
this
dude
country
was-
and our economy.
He
and
might
the
be
dream of
back.
raising their children here.
We'll see.
All right.
Secretary Noem, have you been able to tour Los Angeles?
All right. Let's see if we can get the live thing of, LA protests live. I don't know if we'll be able to. I mean, if we could see Waymo's just sitting there on fire, and that's definitely not good. But I would like a link to the article if you have that. Okay. Not here. This one just watched. Alright, what else we got? Well, let's see what the political theater looks
while
like
retaining the
already.
right to the floor.
I thank the gentleman for
Here.
yielding. I just watched footage of our colleague, my California colleague, Senator Alex Padilla, being forcibly removed from a briefing by the Secretary of Homeland Security's staff.